As a veteran, I do remember those who have fallen. And when I think about Memorial Day, we don't remember our brothers and sisters who fought for this country. We don't remember them because they died. We need to remember them because of how they lived, what they stood for, and the freedom their sacrifice breathed into our lives.
Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you.
All right, welcome back to Coach Soul. Kenya, what a powerful ending last week about addiction, anxiety, and so forth. And, here it is, Memorial Day weekend. And many start this off weekend as, hey, time to celebrate. We're out of school. It's summertime. It's time for the pools to be open and barbecues.
Yes.
And, I'm wearing my shirt, U.S. Army veteran. And, oftentimes we get confused with Memorial Day and veterans and things like that. As a veteran, I do remember those who have fallen. And when I think about Memorial Day, we don't remember our brothers and sisters who fought for this country. We don't remember them because they died. We need to remember them because of how they lived, what they stood for, and the freedom their sacrifice breathed into our lives. And so I want to challenge our listeners this Memorial Day weekend to be able to remember the reasons why you're able to barbecue. Why do we have such a strong presidency that is keeping us safe for those who have sacrificed their lives and keeping us safe? Memorial Day can be heavy. I remember going out to Washington, D.C. and going to Arlington, Virginia, and it's just the serene silence. And some of those head graves are haunting because you see coins laid on the headrest. And those coins represent, it's a memory, someone as a memory that I've served with you. I don't want this to be a solemn experience, but let's talk about, we can be addicted to the grief. We can be addicted to, just trying to relive when we need to celebrate life in itself in memory.
There we go. Well, the place I would like to go with you in this podcast is a place of gratitude. Because of people like you, because of the veterans, I too I was living closer to Arlington. I was in Alexandria, Virginia.
Yes.
When I first came to America. And I remember watching this huge cemetery driving. I was like, what is this? And none of them had names. There's a vast, maybe a kilometer. I don't even know how many. I don't want to make it up a number. So our life here in this country, my life, I'm a foreign. I'm so grateful that I can be here, that I can learn English, that anything that I do to make money actually gives me money. I don't know if you know this, but in Brazil, we have to work an entire week to get a paycheck. Here, you finish, you receive. I'm talking about if you're going to go clean a house, your paycheck is right there on the table. You know what I'm saying? And it is so beautiful to think that we have this freedom, and that this freedom does not come free. And I'm so grateful to know that people like you decided that I'm worthy, that my kids are worthy, decided that I'm going to make my life count to something bigger than I am. And perhaps many of you didn't really do that, because many military, they're kids. They get out at 18 and they don't know who they are yet, but they get into service. And I just want to say my immense gratitude. Now, coming from last week from addiction, it is very easy to get caught up in the between. I'm grateful, but I miss it so much. I'm grateful, but I those were the good times. You see? So there is a very fine line, a dance between gratitude, which is this moment, and living in the past, grief. And it's okay to dance. It's okay to dance. The name of the game is awareness, knowing that you are because you love. The only reason to feel grief is because love is screaming, I love you and I miss you. And this wasn't right. However, I'm so grateful for every day we had together.
You know, as a veteran, it's like I shared before, as a veteran, I remember the fallen, the fallen, my comrades that have fallen, not only for how they died, but for how they lived with courage, conviction, and brotherhood. So to me, Memorial Day is not about being bound to sorrow. It's about rising with remembrance so that we honor them not by staying addicted to the pain of the past, but by carrying their legacy forward.
Yes.
Because through freedom lived well, families loved deeply, and purpose pursued boldly.
Yes.
And, you know, it becomes challenging sometimes when, for some of these veterans that I've spoken to, it gets more into a complex grief system. It's an addiction to grief, so to speak, because they were just standing next to me and now their body parts are all over.
Exactly. And the PTSD that comes with it, and the trauma that comes with it, and the recurring thoughts, and it's a real thing. Like their brain fracture in that moment, and they relive that memory in nightmares, and God knows how many of veterans are in this situation. So I pray healing through everyone right now that has given their time and their life to be there for us. I see you and I love you, and you're not alone.
You know, there's some things I want to help our listeners to get through this Memorial Day weekend. That, number one, let's tell their stories out loud. Because why does it matter? To me, speaking a name keeps the soul alive. It's how we share memories, photos, letters, or personal stories about the fallen, whether it's at the dinner table, at a picnic, social media, group setting.
Yes.
Invite your friends or family to do the same. And then number two, create a legacy act. Why it matters? Grief becomes healing when it's giving to others. Just start by tradition in their name, volunteer, donate a veteran's cause. Here in Broken Arrow, they put up banners along the street of those who have fallen, just to create a legacy to remember. For our civilians who are out there celebrating, number three, light a fire, not just a grill. Because Memorial Day should spark reflection, not just recreation.
Yes.
So around your barbecue or gathering, can I challenge my listeners to take 60 seconds of silence before eating? Let everyone share what freedom means to them or what they're grateful for. Oftentimes, I think we've forgotten how to anchor the celebration and meaning.
That's right.
And so, number four, I recommend let go of guilt, not the memory. Many veterans carrying survivors' guilt or family members feeling stuck in grief. Remind yourself or others, We do not dishonor the dead by living fully.
Oof. Mm-mm.
We honor them best by not wasting what they gave.
Mm-hmm.
So healing is not betrayal, it's continuation. Another way to celebrate is sometimes I've been known to plant something in their honor. To me, growth is quiet. It defies death. Plant a tree, firebed, a memory garden. Let something bloom where grief once stood.
Yes.
Yep. So choose celebration, not isolation. So sometimes in our addiction to anxiety and fear or grief or anger,
Yes,
is that grief can isolate. But remember how to, reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Invite someone over, join a veterans event, reach out to a Gold Star family. And when I think about, these things I just said, we don't move on from those we've lost. We move forward with them and how we live, how we love, and how we remember. So this Memorial Day, I want to challenge my listeners is let it not just be about what was taken, what was given.
Mm-hmm.
And let us live lives worthy of the gift. And so when you think about gift, how does that help us, Kenya, when we think about the gift versus addiction?
It reframes everything.
Mm-hmm.
It just the words, just the outspoken word of gift versus addiction. If you see everything as a gift, if you see yourself as a gift, now you have meaning. Like Man's Search for Meaning book. Now you have meaning. There's a reason to live. I'm a gift. I'm a gift to myself. I'm a gift to my legacy. And I really want to come back to the word legacy. It's a word that has been brewing in my spirit. When you say, don't live with guilt, live in honor. I'm putting my own words. You just said that. Living in honor of those that died and you survived. I say, how beautiful that you can live their legacy. You are the living legacy of the survivors. And when you become that is the gift of being a human, the gift of being alive, the gift of having life, the gift of this present moment. That is the ultimate gift, which, by the way, is my favorite movie ever, The Ultimate Gift.
Mm-hmm. When you think about Memorial Day, one of the things that we often don't talk about is recognizing veterans who have survivor's guilt. We don't talk about it as much, and it affects veterans more than civilians because survivor's guilt.
What's the percentage, Steve? Let me interview you a little bit because I know you're a veteran, and I want to say, in behalf of Coach It's So, thank you for your services. We love you so much. I love you so much. How was it for you to be a survivor?
When I think about, I was fortunate. There were several times that. I don't like expressing this because God protected me for some reason. And I think it's to be here in this moment to help people to accomplish getting a doctorate's degree. If my path was different, I don't think I was going to sit here in this manner. But to be respectful to those who have gone to war, my orders were changed. We had our equipment ramped up where we're going to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, and our orders got changed all because my company commander was pregnant and was able to get a senator to change our orders. But survivor's guilt, among combat veterans, it suggests 46 to 57% of veterans experience some form of survivor guilt.
Wow.
And that's according to a 2012, and it's probably more than that now with the National Center for PTSD. Survivor guilt is strongly linked to PTSD and moral injury. It's veterans who witness the death of a close comrade or especially vulnerable. When you think about 9/11 survivors and natural disaster survivors, guilt is common, even with a direct responsibility. But I want to add a therapeutic note here that survivor guilt can lead to complicated grief, depression, PTSD, and self-destructive behavior if left unaddressed. But when you can name it, explore it, and reframe it, it can become a doorway to meaning, purpose, and post-traumatic growth. And so what I want to tell my veterans who are struggling with this is that you don't have to carry the weight of the fallen to honor them. You honor them by living, by loving, by continuing what they do. And what I want to help our listeners to recognize, if you know a veteran, see a veteran, their behavior downplays their own suffering. What that means is others had it worse than me. Behavior, avoiding military holidays or ceremonies because the survivor guilt can't bear to face the memory or names of the fallen comrades. Oftentimes their behavior is irritability, anger, or restlessness. Because what's happening is their underlying guilt is now becoming outward. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to statements of unworthiness. Yeah. You might hear a veteran say, I shouldn't be here, or they were better men and women than me. Mm. Oftentimes, overachievement or obsession with proving worth. For that survivor, they're trying to earn as a survival. And the biggest indicator sometimes of guilt survivor among veterans is substance abuse or risky behaviors, because what's happening is they're trying to numb the guilt, right, or they're trying to punish oneself,
which is hand to hand.
Correct. So you don't have to carry all of this alone. Talking with someone who understands could help lift some of the weight. Mm-hmm. I think oftentimes we forget about, we remember Veterans Day in November, great. But when we get into the party mode, because it's, the celebration of the summer, we really don't pay attention to survivors' guilt. And that's when, to me, the rates of suicide among our veterans are high. When you think about survivors' guilt, it's not a weakness. It's the echo of love and loyalty. That's right. It just means someone matters so deeply that loving without them feels so heavy. Mm-hmm. But healing does not dishonor them. It only carries their legacy forward. And I know I'm sounding, repetitive. And oftentimes we need to be repetitive. We need to be reminded that we don't need to go through this alone. And Memorial's Day, I'm asking families to reach out to those veterans to help, because you don't know what these veterans have been through. Mm-hmm. If you hear in the news of a veteran that has died but has no loved ones that's going to be there at the graveside, what a great way to just go to attend. What is some of your community? What did they do there in Nashville for veterans, Kenya?
I would love to be able to share everything. And all I can remember for Veterans Day is the pools are open. I mean, this is a podcast for me. I have 3 children, and every time, yay, pools open. And we send a prayer. We come together as a family, say thank you, veterans. We do it in our unit, but I really don't know what Nashville does. And I believe that is such a call. It's not even a call to action. It's a call to awareness that our freedom cost many, many lives. And for us to honor not just the dead, but the living. That's what I hear you saying. I hear that the living are suffering. Perhaps a silent bleeding that in awareness, I now know to reach out. In awareness, I now know to, hey, just, I have a few cemeteries around my house that say, hey, if you ever know of any veteran that doesn't have, just call me, I'll be there. I mean, I can do research. Everybody can. You go around with your cell phone. You just a quick Google search. So for me, this conversation helps to broad the perspective that I can make such a big difference by just being there for someone.
When you think about being there, it's just reflecting on, the fallen don't ask us to mourn forever, right?
That's right.
They ask us to live our lives worthy of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. They ask us to mean our gratitude. It means it's more than just waving a flag or posting a tribute. It means waking up every day knowing that your freedom was bought with a cost. That's right. And choosing not to waste it.
So beautiful, which is our life and abundance.
Yes.
And now we get to put this in so many levels, not just to honor the military, the veterans, the fallen soldiers, if you will, but to honor the life that Jesus died for us, for an abundant to have, so that we could have an abundant life. So to have a wish-wash life is what I would tell my kids. It's almost like I don't care, it's a waste. It's going through life feeling that whatever you feel is true versus knowing that you are who God says you are. Like don't go towards your feeling. Go towards the commitment, the outspoken commitment of I am here to live a fulfilled life, whatever it takes. So taking a stand for that, you don't need to know how. Here's the beauty.
Right.
We're not unveiling a million steps. The first step is the decision. And the next step reviews itself. You know what? Enough. I am going to make my life matter. From this moment forward, my decision is speak with me. I invite you right now to speak with me. You can speak as you drive. From this moment on, I make a point out loud that my life matters and I am here to live it fully. And I surrender, episode of last week, if you haven't heard, and I surrender the how.
When you think about that surrender and to get out of anxiety, research has shown that to be thankful. So when you think about the anxiety that you have about Memorial Day, think of that your life is the thank you note. Let it be written encouraged, sealed with purpose, and delivered in love. We wake up sometimes, feeling dreadful because, oh my gosh, here's Memorial Day. No, wake up each morning, not with dread, but with an awareness that life is a gift bought by sacrifice. Yeah, we're talking about Memorial Day and the men and women who served and who died for our country. But it would be awful of me not to mention in my faith that, we celebrated Easter last month and that Christ paid that ultimate sacrifice so that we can live. And so if you feel like, oh my gosh, my family member or someone that I knew died. So here's the thing. Here's my challenge to you, my listener, is build what they never got to finish.
That's right.
Start a business, write the book, raise the family, heal the trauma. Don't let your dreams die with them. Let your success be the legacy.
I remember listening to this story where the mother found, this is a teenager that had a car accident and she passed, and it was just sad story. But she found her bucket list and she went one by one to fulfill her bucket list. But she went with the family. So that created such memory and bond and joy. It's like, wow, what a way to honor and to live. So here's a fun idea. Have you ever done a bucket list? And do you need to wait until you're like 60 to start your bucket list? And, no retirement needed. It's now. You only have this moment. This is the only moment. This could be my last podcast. I really believe it's not, but I don't know. So there's nothing to get to live to tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. I want to encourage you listeners that when you stand up in the knowing that you matter, that you are, and then you're here for a reason. And the reason doesn't need to be a huge, transform the world. The reason is to live fully. To live fully. That is the reason you're here. And if you get to have a magical, incredible purpose and serve humanity in a huge level, amazing. But you get to live fully. You get to serve that fire inside of you and let it take over versus meh. You know the emoji? Meh. Meh. It became a thing with teenagers, like meh, meh. And it's like normal. Don't let it be normal. Meh is not normal. Whatever language is gonna there, bruh, is not normal. It's living life and enjoying and making memories and creating. You are created by the creator. So creating is in our DNA. We can't help but create. So the question is, if you're not creating, get this, Steve. If you're not creating, you're in anxiety. I promise you. Oh my gosh, I'm not creating. Create. It can be anything. Bake a cake. Create.
Oftentimes, it's we want to isolate or feel like, it's too much burden to bear. But I look at Memorial Day that can bring unity.
Of course. There we go.
The battlefield doesn't ask how you vote. The loss touches every race, gender, faith, and flag. And Memorial Day to me reminds me the freedom is shared and so is sacrifice. So when we honor the fallen, we remember that we belong to each other, not just in life, but in legacy. I mean, I'm a veteran. My father's a veteran. My son's a veteran. My uncles are veterans. And so you remember this. It connects generations. Grandfathers, sons, mothers, all this. We carry stories of someone who served.
Sure.
And to me, Memorial Day is a unification day. It becomes a living thread that binds us to the past, but yet it invites us to steward to the future. And I think, we say, let's do what we can today for we may not be able to do it tomorrow. I think that gives us too much grace. I think, what can I do in this very second that I may not be here the next second?
This is exactly
right. There
is
no grace. That is a challenge to live. And when we think about, the unity of Memorial Day can be gratitude. It breaks down those walls. It's hard to be divided when you're bowing your head next to someone at a cemetery or a moment of silence. Gratitude disarms the division. And when we give thanks, it's not just words, it's presence. Mm-hmm. It reminds that our differences are not greater than our shared debt to those who gave everything. And Memorial Day is not about uniformity. It's shared with purpose. We don't have to agree about everything, but when we honor what we can together, we find that deeper unity. So we got about 5 minutes. And when I think about this, and I want you to kind of close it out too, is Memorial Day unites us because sacrifice does not discriminate.
That's right.
We may look different, vote different, believe different. Mm-hmm. But when I think about my brothers and sisters who have died, we all bleed, love, and grieve the same. So in honoring the fallen this weekend,
yes,
remember what truly binds us: freedom, sacrifice, and one another.
That's right.
You want to have some closing thoughts?
Yes. What's coming to mind is the word equity. And when I get to really sit with the word equity, I only see division. I see 50-50. I see my part, your part, my part, your part. And that is not unity. Unity is oneness. Unity is whatever I do affects Steve. Whatever I do, when I, Kenya, stand up and I have the courage to be seen and to speak and to do things hard, even if I don't show up in social media, my energy itself is vibrating everywhere for every woman in earth, because we're all created by God. That is oneness. That is what I am talking about by living a full life, because what I do matter not just for me and my kids, but for everybody that sees me and for everybody that feels me. Let me transfer that to you. You are so important. You matter so much. And you can choose to believe the thoughts in your head, or you can choose to believe, what if I really decide and I matter that today is the day that I get to, and you fill the blank. I get to write the first line of my book. And you know what? It might take a year. It might take a weekend. I don't know. But if you never do the first line, it will never be. Because the right time is now, is not when.
And, we have to push ourselves.
You have to decide.
It's a choice. Mm-hmm. The dead have no choice any longer. Mm-hmm. Don't live like the dead and feel like you have no choice. That's where we come together in unity and equity of Kenya and I, we share things off mic. It's important to look at living life with a purpose. And, I hear all this time from my students and my clientele that they feel comfortable because I bring no judgment in how I speak.
Yes.
Can we speak life to those who feel like they're living like the dead?
We can. That's
my challenge this weekend. So have a blessed Memorial Day weekend. Until next time, take care.
Love you so much. Thank you for being here.
God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.